The rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated. Hey there, hi there, ho there, Andrew here, gonna talk about some of the things that you might have missed. And yes, you did miss some stuff of the house that I was in called Run, Blood, Sweat, and Fears. And also why it was vastly better than so many other houses. Seriously, people are gonna be talking about this house as the years go by. After all, it is the very last Disaster Q house made in Halloween Horror Nights history. Something that I'm very proud to be a part of also. Now, I would have gotten this video out earlier, but I had to go and dig up my 1987 Reaper World Tour shirt. I said shirt, and if you haven't seen my previous video revealing my house, go ahead and click the link above. That way I don't have to repeat a lot of stuff. Now, I will be showing randomly different types of characters from the house that I was in. See if you recognize anybody. Oh, and by the way, these pictures are owned by their respective owners. That means if you see a watermark that says something like Rachel Sullivan Photography, Rachel Sullivan owns that. And by the way, she does great work. Make sure you check out her website. I put a link in the description below. So let's talk about some stuff. If you listen to the music in the Q video, you'd realize that the latest song played was Smooth Criminal by Michael Jackson from 1987. 1987. Side note, the voice of the DJ KZ Caustic, who played the freshest hits, is actually show director of houses Charles Gray. Now, one thing that I heard from guests and other characters was that they didn't get the house and they didn't get the concept, or even that it wasn't scary. First off, there's always a dark humor comedy / horror house at Halloween Horror Nights. This house was just that. A lot of the confusion that would have been resolved would have been just by watching that Q video. Unfortunately, I saw plenty of people playing heads up to pass the time. And if you came in as a walk-on, such as you were a character at the end of your shift and you wanted to do a house before you left, or you went through the express lane, chances are you didn't watch the Q video. And this Q video was around 45 minutes long. Again, 45 minutes long! That was the longest Q video made in Halloween Horror Nights history. These are the things that separate original concept houses from IP houses. IP stands for intellectual property. Now, did you notice in the Q video there was a top Reaper that was trying to expose the network? That's a subplot. A subplot? In a Q video? In a Halloween Horror Night house? Has that been done before? You would have noticed that the network caught her and her family and put her on a show. None of the family made it. However, she ran to the end of the event. And the once Reaper that's now a runner actually killed another Reaper in that Q video. Did you see that? How about checking out the previous year winning Reapers? Some of the Reapers in the videos were actually department heads and show directors themselves. You could have even gotten a chance to see Mike Aiello, who is the director of entertainment and creative development at Universal Studios. Wildchild, who is one of the top Reapers with over 80 career kills, is actually a child of one of the show directors. How about any of the commercials? Did you check those out? Did you hear about the runner program within the network? You could provide for your family by being a contestant. However, if the network drafted you, no money. A lot of the information about the house was actually given by the TV show host Bobby Strickland. Does that name sound familiar? It should. You see, Bobby's grandfather, who he refers to as Pop Pop, is actually Robert L. Strickland, warden of Hellgate Prison. And Hellgate Prison was a house in Halloween Horror Nights 14. Trivia time! Was there any runners that ever escaped Run in previous episodes? Answer: yes! 2, actually, in the history of Run. And if you were lucky enough, you would be the 3rd one in the special Freedom Day episode. Now, the first previous runner that escaped actually went back again and died during the second TV airing. That happened to be Run's biggest TV rating show. Well, before Freedom Day. The other runner that made it through became a popular Reaper himself. His name? Disco Bob. Does Disco Bob's name sound familiar? Well, he's the Reaper that Wildchild requested to represent corporate states of America. But in the Q video, host Bobby says that Candy and Peppermint are going to represent the CSA. And that wouldn't be the last time that you'd hear a Disco Bob if you paid attention to the house. Inside the house, the story continued. Something you could have done in the house was watch a video halfway through. If you watched it, you'd see a couple of things, such as host Bobby talking to you through the TV set saying he was amazed that you got that far. Or you might see somebody apply makeup to him during commercial breaks. You could have also heard him say that we got a screamer, so send in the Blitzkrieg brothers. I'm a little partial to that one. Now, continuing a house story plot that is directly tied to the Halloween Horror Nights guest while they're walking through that house is not something you normally see, and one of the reasons why Run was vastly superior. Some of the other houses, which were really good, had a lot of things that were going off on the side that didn't directly tie to the guest. And when I say that, I mean in Run, you were pivotal to the story. You were part of the house story. You weren't just watching it. You were it. Did you notice the running tickers in front of the entrances of the Reaper's rooms? In front of Canada, you might have read that Chipper and Chainsaw took the lead in kills before you got to their room. Or you might have seen that the gladiators from Italy actually got bonus points for using an environmental kill. An environmental kill? What was that? Well, they used the spike wall that was in the room. Incidentally, you might have been lucky enough to get a little wet from the impalation of the spike victim. Impalation? Is impalation a word? See, the scary character that was the spike victim actually triggered a water effect to hit the guests going by, so it felt like blood splattered on them. They got so good by the end of the event, they could pinpoint a bee and hit him in the mouth from across the room. That's good aiming. Come to think of it, you might have gotten a little wet from Chipper in Canada. Things tended to get a little juicy in that room too. Now, another thing in the Q video was that the host Bobby said that the Reapers got a chance to go into Hellgate Prison and set up their rooms before the show. And that is something that I don't think people understood. The layout of the house was Hellgate Prison. Now, not everything from the original Hellgate was in her house, but there were some similarities. I'll give you an example. There was a boiler room in the original Hellgate Prison house, and that is where the Plague, the Reapers from Brazil, showed up. Now, why a boiler room? Well, you see, the steam from the boilers could be confused with the nastiness that the Plague was shooting out of their hose guns. That makes sense now. Also, when you went into the Blitzkrieg Brothers room, which happens to be the execution chamber of the prison, you would read in the ticker going by that they were getting bonus points for the use of an electric chair. That electric chair is Old Smoky from Hellgate Prison, which is a famous piece of Halloween Horror Night history. A list of places that it's been in or referred to: Hellgate Prison, Demon Cantina, Run Hostile Territory, Jack's Carnival of Carnage, Bloody Mary's Reflection of Fear, Saul, Psycho Scarapy, Echoes of Shady Brook, Afterlife, Death's Vengeance, Run, Blood, Sweat, and Fears. I'm sure I'm missing some. Also, some people were confused about the Reapers walking around with flags. First off, that's how the characters went back and forth from sets to breaks. And second, the flags represented the countries that they were coming from. In the Q video, it's explained that Freedom Day is celebrated by the TV audience voting for their favorite Reapers from around the world. The American flag and the Russian flag were a little bit different than what you might expect. See, the blue field, there's a globe instead of stars representing the corporate states of America. And there's a nuclear design that is added to the old Russian-Soviet flag because now it is a radiated wasteland. Inside the house, you could see there were plenty of runners that were victims of the Reapers via, I don't know how do you say that, by the way they are known to kill. See, sometimes I don't need edits, I just keep on talking. See this guy that's hanging in the showers? The characters that played the twins called him Niles. I love that, Niles, because they're from Egypt. And Kira had pinned a runner to the wall in the corridor that she and Shikio were hiding in. Side note, Shikio in Japanese means death. Now here's one thing, did you notice that there were dead enforcers and runners in the Canadian room? Was the network trying to hide the fact that a runner might have been lucky enough to take out one of the enforcers? That's more subplots there. And yes, there was a guest activated trigger in the Canadian room. If you touched a button on a chainsaw that was a prop, it would start up. However, there were no guest activated triggers in my room. There were plenty of buttons to touch, but you don't touch them. I touched them. Now, some people want to know which Reaper killed the most for Freedom Day. Well, the answer is actually in the house. The ticker going into Candy and Peppermint's area, which was Death Row, said that they killed 14 so far and took the lead from Canada by making Reaper history for killing the most on one show. And on that same ticker, it says that Disco Bob is still missing. Still missing? Is that why Candy and Peppermint are representing the corporate states of America? Is there foul play going on? That's even more subplots. Now, some people were confused with the theming of Candy and Peppermint's room, and they thought that it was Christmas. It's not Christmas, it was just subtext about gluttony and such in America. See, the jail cells to the right actually had a lot of different types of sweets and candy in there. And Death Row's cell doors were striped red and white to represent the Reaper Peppermint, not candy canes. So you see, Universal Creative did so much in this house, and tons of things were missed. That is why you have to go through these houses numerous times. So did you like Run, Blood, Sweat, and Fears? What was your favorite room or Reaper? Which Reaper scared you, and which made you laugh? Don't forget to share and like this video, plus subscribe so you get notified the moment I upload. And I will see you in the next video.